Hey, welcome to another episode of the Coachable Players podcast. This show is built on a simple but powerful belief. The most successful athletes, employees, and business leaders all share a trait. They are coachable. So these episodes, we're going to sit down with athletes, business owners, coaches, professionals, and we're going to talk about their story and their journey to where they are today. And this episode is going to be really cool, kind of emotional, maybe a little emotional. I've been recording a podcast with Chris Martin, my guest here, for 5 years, and we're still going strong. I think stronger than ever. So check out the Building
Loving it.
PA podcast if you haven't. But Chris, a person like Chris is the ideal candidate to get interviewed on this podcast. He was a basketball player in high school, played in college. He was an athlete, and he worked various professions, labor and in the office. And now he's a business owner. So this is what it's all about, brother. Chris Martin,
Here
welcome
we
to
are,
the
man.
Coachable Players.
I love it. I love it, John. This is fantastic. I'm excited about this, and thank you for referring to me as a former athlete. I like that you was an athlete,
But it is,
because
it
that's
is.
true. I was an athlete. Those days are long, long gone,
But they were
unfortunately.
glory days. They were great days.
Oh, the glory days. Yeah, of
Yes.
course. You know,
That's where we're going to
it was
start.
just
We're going right
let's
to the
do it
glory days. Tell
right
us about
there.
Chris Martin and tell us about your journey in sports. Let's start with youth.
Well, all
I don't
right.
want a 5 hour story here. Just keep it under like
No,
2 hours,
no,
if you will. So.
I promise. I promise. I promise. So, yeah, growing up, I lived in I grew up in Pittsburgh. I went to I played football, basketball, baseball, soccer. It's just nonstop. And as I got older, we moved to Central PA and started to focus more on basketball. And I was really, really fortunate when, where I went to ended up going to high school. I went to Manheim Township High School, and in Lancaster, and had some just amazing guys I was around. And all of them were really, really good athletes. Some guys played football, baseball. But the guys that I was closest with and still remain close today are the basketball players.
Hmm.
And we were fortunate, or I should say, I was fortunate because I played with all of them. But our team graduate, we all graduated in 1989. So yeah, we're that old.
Yeah.
But we ended up winning the District Three championship.
Nice.
In out there out in Central PA in your neck of the
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah.
Got to beat the great Steel High Steamrollers
Oh,
for
that's a big one. Yeah.
yeah. We along the way as we are through the playoffs and everything, we beat Harrisburg, we beat Cedar Crest,
Wow.
Dallastown, and then Steel High, and it was great. It was so much fun because you know playing 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 a sport, and you know this, John.
Yeah.
Playing a sport with guys that you love, like truly are brothers. You
Yep.
know, um, John Miller, Bill Baldwin, Ed Plackens, Dennis Cabry. Those guys are like always going to be my brothers,
Nice.
and you want to do things for them. You want to work your ass off in the summertime. You want to put in the extra shots. You want to do, run more sprints, which I was not known to have ever been good at. But so I was really fortunate. I played with some really, really good players. Four of us on the starting five went on to play basketball in college, and
Awesome.
Johnny, the other guy, the one guy that didn't play basketball, played baseball.
Okay.
So we were
You had two
around a lot of
studs.
athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and it was great. So that was high school, and then I was fortunate to continue to play. I played I was a fighting Blue Jay at Elizabethtown College, and unfortunately, when I was at Elizabethtown, there was some turmoil. I played for three coaches in 2 years.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, it was a little crazy. But I was fortunate, like I think it's kind of a theme here. Then I played for Dave Lebo
Okay, yeah.
my freshman year. It was Coach Lebo's first and only, from what I recall, college coaching. And that
Is
was
it
just fun.
Lebo
That
as
was
in
just
the Carlisle family Lebo?
Carlisle. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. Just being around him and his assistant was just amazing. From a basketball perspective, learned so much. Um, Pushed myself as hard as I possibly could, and it was good because they were pushing me as well. And then unfortunately he left, and then my sophomore year, Coach Bob Slosher, who was the coach for Elizabethtown for quite some time. I think he was about 25 years there. I know he's now retired.
Okay.
Um, but and then just got to the point where I really didn't like basketball anymore.
Just burn
Um,
yourself
you
out or
know,
what? Yeah.
well, I think it was a little bit of different philosophies and coaches and the changing, from the guys that recruited me to the end. It was just kind of like, yeah, I don't really like this. This isn't fun. It wasn't as fun. My sophomore year was not as much fun as my freshman year.
Okay.
And so I transferred and I was gonna play at Millersville, and my high school coach called and said, "Hey, what do you think about coaching?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be kind of cool." Um, and so I started coaching. I coached at Manheim Township as well,
Oh, very cool.
for about 8 years,
Okay.
and that was so much fun. That brought the fun back into it.
Yeah.
So those are the glory days.
Yeah. So going from transitioning from a player, youth, high school, college, into coaching, what did you learn about yourself being on the other side with the whistle? Did you learn anything?
That's a loaded question,
It
man.
is. It is.
Um, it is. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one, man.
Yeah.
Um, I I I want to think I
Yeah.
learned patience.
Okay.
Because again, I was really the folks that I played with, the guys that I played with in high school, um, were just everybody would dive on a loose ball. Like there would be blood on our knees every practice, or they just do whatever we could to win, and that was across the board.
Okay.
Not only the guys that I played with as seniors in high school, but even the guys that were before us. Um, and it was a little different than when I got to college because it wasn't that same mentality. It wasn't that same approach.
Okay.
And then when I started coaching again, it was like, okay, you guys are going to be like me. And I
Nice.
quickly learned that wasn't fair. Like that
Yeah.
was, so I think that was the biggest thing for me, from going from that transition to the way that I think to the way that everybody else should think. That wasn't fair to put on high school kids.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing for me.
So I don't want to transition too far into the future here or move too far in, but I can imagine, the comment like meeting people where they are. It didn't sound like you were meeting them where they are, the players, the high school players, and you wanted them to
Yeah.
be where you were, But as a
Right. Right.
manager, as a boss, as an owner, it seems like that was a good learning experience for you as far as
Oh, absolutely. It was invaluable
yeah,
because, like you're sitting there. I remember one day, yelling at some kid, just not yelling, getting on them, pushing them
yeah,
and realized that no matter how much I yelled and screamed, like they just physically couldn't do what I was asking them to do. And so that was just kind of like, okay, I need to back off here. I need to be smart about this and don't do quite honestly, what happened to me in college to, you know, an eighth grader or a freshman, and take them away from something that is a really fun thing to be doing.
yeah,
So yeah, and it's definitely kept with me from, you know, as jobs that I've had as I've gone through my career, to being a father and
yeah.
being a husband, right? And all of those things. It's been patience is a really good thing that I hope that I have learned from that.
Nice. And we're going to stretch back here. We're going to go back and talk about some experiences here. Let's look at coaches. So it sounds as if you had the spectrum from really good to maybe not so good coaches. Sounds like you had it all, maybe.
I,
What
yeah.
learning? Yeah, what any sort of things that stick out as far as learning experiences, and even I'm a true believer in even bad experiences you can learn from, and like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Well, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I agree with that.
yeah,
I think that, one, i- as a coach, as a manager, or even as a player, I always felt like you need somebody to push you. And I think, all of the coaches that I played for, and have been around and even, had the chance to even coach with, I learned that you've got to push.
Mhm.
And I think that's vital. My high school coach, just a great, not motivator, but um, he just pushed you beyond what you possibly thought you could do. And then in college, it was much more a thinking game,
Yeah,
right? And going from that, from the physical part of high school being, you're going to run till you drop, and that's going to be good because you're going to be able to play longer, and you're going to be ready to, all of those things physically. And then in college, it became much more of the mental game, and tying in other sports too.
yeah,
Um, that was kind of cool. Yeah,
that's cool. Cool.
yeah,
What about
I
as
enjoyed it.
far as um, receiving feedback? That's a coachable trait, listening to feedback, receiving feedback. Was that ever difficult in your journey as far as with either as a player or a coach or now as an owner, as far as receiving feedback and changing and responding?
I think that's from a player's perspective. I think that's really important. Like I mean, if you don't expect to get feedback, whether no matter what sport it is, then you shouldn't be on the field, right?
Yeah,
If the expectation is I know everything, leave me alone. Well, you need to hang up the cleats, the shoes, the mitts, whatever it is, the gloves, and just walk away.
yeah,
So I think that's important. And even in business too, in your life after whatever, those things are, you should expect to get feedback. I mean, even though I own my own marketing firm, I get feedback from my team constantly.
nice.
And some of it I don't like, and some of it is, man, that's spot on. Let's go. But I do think it's, from me, I was always asking questions. Like if I didn't understand something, I'd be like, well, coach, is this what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Or, is this the way that you want me to do this? And it was either no, you moron, this is what I want, or it was like, yeah, that's it. Just go rebound more or box out harder or make more shots. Do whatever it is.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I think accepting feedback and translating it in a way that will help you is just a vital skill no matter what you're doing.
nice. I love how in the response you brought in both worlds. You talked about the athletes and getting feedback as an athlete, and then you talked about your employees and feedback back and forth. But let's see if we can stay there for a little bit there. Let's talk about
All right.
parallels. Do you see any parallels between coachable athletes and coachable employees?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, 100%. And I think, as we were talking before we were recording, some of the folks that we know in the construction industry and have worked with, both you and I, eh, almost everybody is a former athlete,
Yeah.
and I think that opens up um, a whole different mindset versus someone who wasn't an athlete. And that's not saying that it's you can't succeed if you weren't an athlete, but um, there is a mindset that comes along with things, and it definitely, maybe it isn't an athlete, maybe it's somebody who was in theater or in music, like musician, like people that play guitar and
Mhm.
are really good at it. I mean, they have to practice and they have to get feedback and they have
Yep.
to listen and they have to, so it's that same mindset, whether it's, sports, music, theater, or whatever. It's constantly, literally putting yourself out there and seeing how you can improve. So I think there are a lot of parallels that go between success in athletics to success in the business world.
Absolutely. You kind of, I don't know if you're reading my mind. You're probably reading my mind. We've been together 5 years on
Well,
the podcast
I was
here.
going
So
to say we've known each other for a lot longer than
yeah,
that, but here,
yeah, we
here we
have known
go.
it. Yeah, exactly. But something tells me you knew what question I was going to ask next, and you kind of answered it. I was going to say, like, why do you think sports plays such an important life role when it comes to employees and strong employees? And you kind of fielded it. So you're reading my mind, brother. I love it.
Watch out, man. Well, it's a scary thought, but
It
but
is.
but to that point, though,
Yeah.
I will add this too. It's hearing hearing the word no, or you can do better, or do this instead
Yeah.
of this, like that aspect of um, being able to absorb that and then learn from it is just crucial to whatever you're doing. If you're you know digging ditches or running the most important company in the world, you still
Yeah.
have to be able to absorb things and say, okay, that's good, in with a good and out with a bad type of thing. So
Yeah.
I think that definitely comes from that.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, picture this now. You're
Okay.
invited to a room full of parents and coaches, and they want to raise their kids to be coachable people in life. They want them to be successful employees, business owners, athletes, whatever. And then they're growing up or whatever, and they say, Chris, what advice would you give us if we want to raise coachable
Uh,
kids or have coachable people in our communities? What are you saying?
what a great question, John. This is deep
Get you
thought here
thinking.
with John O'Brien, right? I would say, one, I think there's two things. One, um, and this is something my father always has instilled with me for as long as I can remember, and that is be honest with yourself. And like if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I did everything I could do, either in practice or at work today or in that meeting or whatever, then you're in the right direction and you're a coachable person, in my opinion. And the other thing too is don't be so hard on yourself. I know, like, one of my daughters is extremely hard on herself. I remember she was in, it's my oldest daughter, and it was probably third grade, and she came home one day and was just so mad. Like, I've never seen her at that age, being so mad. And it was like, well, what happened? She goes, I failed a test today. Okay. All right. Well, what didn't you do? And she goes, I didn't study. So I'm never letting that happen again. And just stormed off. And
Yeah.
that was like, oh, okay. Well, that's great at third grade to have that. But at the same time, you know, that was something that she had her whole life. And even today, when she's in college, she got mad. She showed me her grades from this past semester. She had a 3.95, and she's like, I missed a 4.0. I'm
Uh,
like, 3.95? I'd be
yeah.
doing backflips.
Yeah.
And
Me
like,
too.
look at how, like, this is amazing. And
Yeah.
so, trying to let that, um like, while it's great to have the drive,
Yeah.
also enjoy the
Enjoy.
success, and don't
Yes.
be so hard on yourself to strive for perfection when, quite honestly, you already have
Yes. Celebrate success. I love it. You
it.
got to.
Exactly. That's it, man. You stole the
Yeah.
words right out of my mouth.
There we go.
Yeah,
I love it.
great.
You worked in your dad and you worked in your daughter, and it just awesome, awesome story, awesome interview. I love it. Any sort
Watch
of
out. I could.
yeah. Before we depart here, I just want to ask if there's any sort of notable moments or experiences with coaches that left a lasting impression on you from your wide variety
Oh,
of
wow.
coaches. There's a lot out there with all the years you played. So
Uh, there was a couple stories that were
Yeah.
that I remember. I mean, in high school, our like we would, obviously play pickup games and do those things, and um, our coach would play with us occasionally, and he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, he would shoot like 30 feet away. Like today's NBA was like a layup for him,
Oh, yeah.
and it would be no. And I always got stuck guarding him, and I'm like, and everybody would yell at me like, "Come on, you got to stop him!" And I'm like, "What do you want me to do?" He's the coach, and he's 30 feet away from the basket. I mean, statistically speaking, he's gonna miss, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it was just a funny thing. Like the first day of practice, my senior year, I walk into the locker room, and there's a Far Side comic, on my locker, and it said, and you, Martin, keep that hand in his face, and it's the kid with the one big hand, so
Yeah.
it was just something that I remember.
That's
Um,
cool.
but yeah, that was, yeah, there's some good things. I mean, again, my high school coach really pushed us collectively, and clearly made me a better player. I mean, I don't think I would have played in college had it not been for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then likewise in college, I mean, I learned a lot that I could take and then apply to when I was coaching. Um, so I think it was good there. And then even like when I was coaching at my high school, the long story short, the head coach was my JV coach.
Okay.
So
Nice.
like, I started off with my high school coach, and then the JV coach became the head coach, and then I moved up with him, and I learned so much from him. Jim Kreider is his name,
Yeah.
um, and he was a science teacher. And he
Oh, yeah.
taught physics, and it was just this whole perspective of science and basketball, and science and sports, and it
Yeah.
was just like it was just incredible, like some of the stuff. And I wish I could say more than just it was incredible,
Yeah.
because you know you only have so much time on your podcast. But huge influence just in just a different way to think about anything, instead of it's always got to be this way.
Yeah.
So Pat Mowry and Jim Kreider were massive impacts on me,
Okay.
from Manheim Township.
Did either of them maybe change the way you maybe communicate with players or the way that you manage them or get the best out of them and anything that they did?
I think, if anybody is listening to this played for Pat Mowry, that it was a lot of screaming and yelling.
Nice. I like them already.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think it would fly in today's
Yeah.
world, but it was. I mean, he made us better, and that
Yeah.
was the way that it went. Um, but
Is that why you yell so much during the Atlas marketing meetings? Is that why?
yes,
Yeah, that's
yes,
where you get
that's
it from.
exactly
Okay.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got to get the vein in my head wiggling, doing those things. Um, but like having that, and then when I started coaching, like I was like, oh my God, this is how I have to do it. And then I remember Jim Kreider pulling me aside one day and going, "Just be yourself. You'll be okay." And,
Nice.
and I was like, okay, that was great advice for anything moving forward.
Very cool.
Um, so yeah, again, it was that perception of here's how I need to act versus no, you can do however you see fit. So that was good.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
So with the Building PA podcast, we've recorded 200, 250, maybe close to 300
Yeah.
episodes. I don't know. I lost track after a
I
couple of years.
I did too. I did too.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
It's
but
up
it's so
there.
much fun.
I think it's
Yeah.
definitely over 200. I don't know if we reached three yet
Yes.
or not. But
We'll
this is,
say that.
yeah, we'll say close to three. How's that? But this is number
Yeah.
one for the coachable players. We'll have to have
Nice.
you back on for future episodes here. I
Love
have
to.
thoroughly enjoyed the conversations. We'll have to learn more about science and physics and basketball and mixing that whole thing together here. So I love it.
Yeah. I'll have to go back in my notes and pull it
Nice.
out, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, thank you, Chris, for coming on the show here. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Coachable Players podcast. Remember, the most successful athletes, employees, and leaders aren't just talented, they're coachable. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share with a friend, a teammate, or a colleague who could use a reminder that being coachable isn't just a sports skill, it's a life skill. Until next time, my friends, stay humble, stay hungry, and stay coachable. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks, Sean.